The lap record was actually done in the night, just before he crashed, by Martin Brundle.
At what speed?
3:41 he did.
41.
Now
So
remember, they qualified at a 3:35, so in the middle of the night at Le Mans in long-distance race trim, lapping within 6 seconds of the qualifying lap record. That's a pretty stout accomplishment.
Well, obviously they set the cars for qualifying trim, which reflects the fact that this pace is really much hotter than it seems. I mean, exactly. If you say, oh, it's 6 or 7 seconds off what they qualify, that's really not true at all, because the cars have to be perforce not running qualifying tires and in qualifying trim.
Interesting, the battle we're watching here, because that is your 5th place McLaren BMW having a superb run. Obviously not as quick overall as the GT1 Porsche, but through keeping a very solid pace, that McLaren BMW finds itself in the top 5. And if you were here when Bill Oberlin sat in with us, the possibility of a top 5 was asked, and he said it would be awesome, but he didn't think it was possible. Guess what?
Look, I was so impressed with the way that Bill has driven here. To come here completely blind to a Le Mans track and do this great job, it's outstanding, you know, because, as I said before, O'Rourke, who owns the car, is not the fastest man, he'll admit that.
And you know that McLaren is only 8 laps off the pace after 22 hours plus of running. That's incredible.
Yeah, Bill says it just doesn't quite get through the corners as well as the other cars, but in the straight line, it's brutally fast. Our coverage will continue here at Le Mans. Don't go away. Welcome back to Le Mans. You're looking at the leading Toyota, but one of the interesting stories, of course, how close this battle is at the front. We're trying to figure this one out, because when they pitted, there was over a minute difference. When they came out, it was just about 45 seconds. The Porsche took on tires, the Toyota didn't, which should have made the Toyota stop a little bit quicker, yet the gap comes down. We're wondering about maybe Thierry Boutsen had a much slower out lap, and maybe Alan McNish got behind the wheel of the Porsche and just flopped it on the opening lap. Amazing on new cold tires.
No, I can't believe for a second there would be that big a difference in the driver approach. It might be a second or two at the very most. It's conceivable that Toyota had a problem with the gear again, leaving, you know, the pits for the first time. I mean, it's just at least we know this for a fact. The gap is down from over a minute to 45 seconds with less than 2 hours to go. So I mean, we've got a tremendous race on our hands, and with Porsche having just changed their tires and the track faster, I believe, than it has been at any time since the race began. I mean, for one thing, there's a lot less traffic now, only about half the cars running. Remember, it's cooled down. The threat of rain came through, appears to have dissolved, but it's left a nice cool running condition here.
And Andrew, you've been watching the times of the leading Toyota versus the times of the second place Porsche.
Yeah, last time round, the Porsche was a second a lap quicker than the 29 Toyota, so he is closing, but he needs to take more than a second off, and we'll see the Almo Capello car just coming in there.
Yeah, the Rocky Augusta. That's the Kremer K8. Probably, one would suspect, the last time we're going to see this car. They're indicating that this car might be retired after this race.
Yeah, I think there's still some old Porsche 962 bits in that car.
Well, you were talking about the pace of the two cars, and it shows now officially the margin down to 43 seconds flat. So at about a second to 2 seconds a lap, it looks like the inroads are being made. Now, that's still a lot of time, but we do have, after all, just a tick under an hour and a half remaining.
Oh, yes, this is building up to an absolute grandstand finish, a real crescendo. I mean, as Sam said earlier, we've seen them before. We've seen cars cross the line side by side, but they were from the same team, and that was, of course, Ford. Remember that, Sam?
I sure do. I was here for that race, but that was an organized finish, too, wasn't it? We're not going to see anything like that this time, that is for sure.
Let's head down to the PANOZ pit. Davy Jones is there.
Yeah, Andy Wallace just brought the number 8 place car, the PANOZ, in, and they're doing a driver change. David BRABHAM is going into the car. Obviously, you can tell that the crew is a little bit tired. You know, they've been up all night. They've been working hard. They've been doing pit stops every 40 to 45 minutes. You can see the sweat on Andy Wallace's suit. It must be hot inside the car. And it's just that time of race where you just want to get them to the finish now. They're changing the tires. They put fuel in. And, you know, everything's going to be okay with the car, just fairly routine. Another note, a little further up in the Nissan camp, they say that all 4 of their cars are running just fine. There's no problem. A little bit earlier, they had a vibration in the back of the car. They pulled the engine cover off. There was a rear panel that had come off, and it was vibrating around, and it was very difficult to drive the car. It just goes to show you how important the aerodynamics play in this whole game, particularly down the Mulsanne. again, they're just waiting to start the PANOZ. Started. Just a routine stop, and they're off.
Well, Davey, just to put this in perspective, the PANOZ is running 8th overall with 315 laps completed. The next lap, the next car down is the Wayne Taylor Ferrari, 2 laps back, and that Wayne Taylor Ferrari is leading the prototype class. So that's how good an achievement, I mean, which the prototype should really be mixing it with the GT. So the PANOZ is having an excellent run here today.
It certainly is. Don will be very happy with that. There's still a battle going on, incidentally, for 6th place, and Calvin is down in the pits.
Well, just an observation here. The fact that a lot of these cars are running the carbon fiber brakes really makes it tough on these mechanics. We're looking at the left front tire changer on the Wayne Taylor car, affectionately known as PK, and you can see that he's literally been eating that dust. When they go down with the wheel gun, really hammer that gun on, basically it shakes the whole corner of the car. All the brake dust comes up straight in their face. That's why they wear that balaclava type situation to try and stop it going in their mouth and stuff. But obviously tough conditions. They've now been at work in the race alone for over 20 hours. And they probably up about 10 or 12 hours before that, so really tough conditions for these guys.
And that's something we really haven't touched on very much. We were talking about the drivers and the cars itself, but the crews. This is a team sport in many ways, perhaps more of a team sport than any other. As good as you are as a driver, if you don't have the crew, especially in 24 hours, you don't finish.
The leader in the prototype division, the number 12 Ferrari, the Danker machine driven by Eric van der Poel, is in the pits. Routine stop. He's got fuel. He took some refreshment, a quick drink. They're just checking out, and they actually have to clean off the numbers on the side of the car. We talked about that carbon fiber dust. Very important. It gets so black on the side of these cars. They want to make sure that the scoring official can really see the numbers on the side of the car, guys.
All right, Calvin, and we have a shot right now of the Porsche pits, and they are very, very excited. And the reason is we are missing the number 29 Toyota. It is now 2nd place, and it is a lap down. The number 26 Porsche is now in the lead, and the rumors are that the 29 Toyota is out on the circuit. It is parked somewhere out there. This is a fascinating development. Look at it. You can see one of the Porsche mechanics dancing in the pit lane. They are excited. All right, this is the 27. That is the sister car, of course, and it has made a stop in pit lane. It had set some very, very quick laps. Let's check in with Calvin.
Well, ex-Formula 1 star Okio Katayama is going to be jumping into this machine. This car suffered problems earlier in the race with gearbox problems, the same problems that has now suffered the number 29 machine. We don't have a report here currently whether it's gearbox problems for that car out on the circuit. Actually, as Katayama getting out of the car, being replaced by one of his other Japanese teammates. Team goes to work right now. Fuel is in. They're going for tires, and obviously the level of frustration in this pit is high right now. They've put on such a strong showing, and until they get that car back, they can't go to work. Last night they changed the gearbox on the number 29 machine in about 15 to 20 minutes. This morning, second time around, that thing was out of here in about 9 minutes. So if they can get the car back, there's a good chance they can make a fix to the gearbox if that is the problem, and get him back on track for Thierry Boutsen's first win here at Le Mans.
Well, they continued. We haven't seen him come by. And Andrew, with your comments about what happened to Toyota 5 years ago, you either are prophetic or just a complete jinx.
I am saying that history has just repeated itself. I don't know, of course, it's gear shift problems, but I am convinced that that car should have been passed now. And there's so little time left that anything like this just happening, to me, that victory's gone.
Well, we're on board right now.
Sorry, I couldn't agree with you more, Andrew. I mean, the time being lost out there is obviously decisive. They must have had gear change problems from the time they left the pits.
You stop on the circuit, you know, Sam, that's it.
You're dead. And look at this. I mean, Porsche has both their cars in a strong position now. They're a lap apart, but moving well. This moves the Nissan, in my view, if we're calling the Toyota out, which I think it may be legit, that moves the Nissan into 3rd and the Bill Oberlin McLaren into 4th. Sensational.
Remarkable achievement for that machine, and of course Nissan then would move to 3rd, and obviously all of their testing, their approach, serving them very well indeed. Well, we'll continue to update you on the developments of the number 29 Toyota. We're going to step away. We'll let you know what's happening as soon as we're back. Welcome back to Le Mans as the developments continue. The number 29 Toyota down to 3rd spot now, 3 laps behind the leading number 26 Porsche. Down in the pits is Calvin, and he's with the driver of the number 28 car. Calvin.
Well, Martin Brundle has really led the program here at Le Mans for Toyota, and obviously the number 29 car that led a lot of laps, Martin, in the recent going, has suffered a gearbox problem, I understand. Have you had any indication of that throughout the testing with the car, that you're going to have problems like that here?
Well, the car's very new and we've had various problems. We weren't expecting so many gearbox problems, I have to say, but Le Mans was very particular, as you know. I'm really gutted for those guys in 29 because they've really kept their heads through thick and thin, got the laps back. They lost with a gearbox earlier in the race, gearbox problem. In difficult conditions, they were always on the right tyres at the right time, pulled the laps back and looked like they had it in the bag, hour and a quarter to go. And, this is the team's TT's first ever Le Mans, and I think they've done a fantastic job. And they deserve to win that. I really feel sorry for them.
Obviously a problem last night for you, Martin, trying to make up a lot of ground, and the conditions were obviously very tricky out there. What happened with your car?
Well, our car had a gearbox problem and then a brake problem, and then my teammate had a little bit of an off and various things. So we were 45 minutes down, so I was driving like a lunatic, really enjoying myself, to be honest. And I came across I moved from a dry, I had 20 laps on a dry track, and with no warning at all, no rain on the screen or anything, I came into the chicane at the end of the lap, and the track was just saturated. There was just a local shower here on the pit lane, and I just went off in a massive way.
Okay, Martin, thank you. Obviously, Martin was involved with the Nissan program last year, came here with Toyota. They came a lot further, very close to victory, but looks like they're going to be a little short.
Well, this is a team that certainly gives it its all. I mean, Martin Brundle was willing to hammer around in the car, was back 10 laps, and they were trying to gain back whatever they could. The 29 Toyota had been having such a solid run, but the car you're looking at right now, the Porsche team, find themselves in 1-2, Andrew.
Yeah, and I'm just wondering about team orders. Bob Wallet, what a wonderful servant for Porsche. We've heard about all those 9 24-hour victories, but never won this one. I just wonder if they might, for old time's sake, sentimentality, put him in front. Sam, what do you think?
Well, it's a sentimental time for Porsche. The 50th anniversary of the starting of their company. They gun for their 16th win here at Le Mans. Dr. Porsche died this year. Things that maybe wouldn't have happened at another year might very well happen this year. That said, I still doubt it. I think it would just be too savagely unfair to the men that have driven this car here. I can't see taking it away from Alan McNish. But then again, there's still over an hour of racing to go, and just 20 minutes ago, we thought the Toyota was cruising home to victory. So the old adage about things can happen at the last minute very much in force here at Le Mans.
Unquestionably, and as a matter of fact now, the number 29 Toyota finds itself in 4th. Nissan is in the top 3 here at the 24 Hours of Le Mans, as we have about an hour and 10 minutes remaining. Welcome back to this, the 50th post-war running of the 24 Hours of Le Mans. Of course, it has run before that as well, but call this the modern era, if you will. This is the ultra-modern era. And there we see the 2 Porsche GT98s, the GT198s, running in close formation on the track. They are separated by 1 lap, but they are running together on the track. And Andrew, you were talking about the possibility of Bob Wallach maybe getting a little help from the Porsche team. We've talked about him quite a bit. We should really expand perhaps briefly on Alan McNish. Remember, this was a driver who showed tremendous speed and tremendous promise when he was running Formula 3, Formula 3000, got a McLaren testing contract, but his career really sort of stalled. And just recently, last year, he got an opportunity to do test driving for Porsche in the 911 GT1 program and proved to be brilliantly quick. Ended up getting a factory ride with them at the end of the season, and in fact led at Daytona, or excuse me, at Laguna in the season finale in the FIA series. He's come on strong.
Yes, I mean, 3 years ago, his career was at such a state that the only job he had at Le Mans, I say the only job, was actually commentating.
Oh, no.
Yeah, but Sam, you know, this is a young guy.
That can happen to somebody.
But for an active race car driver.
He's only 28. Theoretically, his career is ahead of him. But he did have a brief stint with Benetton. He's a driver of enormous potential. This is the sort of thing that, like Alexander Wirtz a couple of years ago, a Le Mans victory could do him an awful lot of good. He's not a Formula One driver on the other side of the hill. He's very much a man of the future.
Actually, when his career was still on the way up and he was in Formula 3000, he had a very nasty and a bit of a mystery virus, which really stopped him racing for a while, and it was really a nasty illness. And I think that did just take the push out of his career.
Again, those two Porsches separated by a lap. We want to point that out. The lead car in your picture is the lead car, I believe, overall. And again, the number 25 car runs second, a lap back, then 2 laps adrift. The number 32 Nissan as they make the appearance in the top 3. Then the 29 Toyota, and it's important to point out that the 29 Toyota's lap count has not changed since the problem arrived. We are inside the Toyota pits, and that looks like consolations being handed out right there.
Yeah.
This could be a very, very sad sign indeed.
How can you feel? How can you feel?
It's just unbelievable, the emotion that must be happening right there, right now. As I said, since the problem cropped up, they sit at 330 laps and just continue to drop down. As a matter of fact, the number 40 BMW McLaren is now within 2 laps of moving into the top 4. There's a great story. But look at the faces of the crew there. They worked so hard. And Sam, we were watching when they were thrashing on that car so eloquently, in a way. I mean, the way that they executed those gearbox changes and those stops was something remarkable. And they are set. On the other hand, over in the Porsche pit, smiles starting to build all around.
Well, Porsche obviously has just an awful lot to celebrate, but you know, the way they stalked the Toyota, they never gave him a moment, did they? I mean, they kept the pressure on what was probably a faster car in the Toyota, at least a little bit faster. Martin Brundle certainly thought so. In his interviews with us early in the game, he thought really had the Porsche team handled. But they did what they do best. They doggedly persevered. They never deviated from their game plan until right at the end here, I think, when they put those fresh tires on to try to attack.
Let's go down to Davy Jones, who's in the pit.
Obviously, things are working out very well for the Porsche camp. Are you just delighted, ecstatic?
Yeah, but there's another hour to go.
I know there's another hour.
So let's wait until we have finished.
But I know Porsche reliability like you do. So you have to have confidence. The team, the cars.
It looks not too bad. That's true, but let's wait another hour.
We'll stand by.
You know,
they are so loath, aren't they, to accept any kind of possible that they might be looking for a win.
You got to say this one thing about Porsche. They have the engineering and everything. They just work harder, longer, and more in depth at this game than anybody else. And most of the time it pays off.
We saw Herbert AMPFERER there. He wanted to smile, but he dare not at this stage as we approach 1 hour remaining. Welcome back to Le Mans. You see an awful lot of activity down in pit lane. That's the Porsche pit. The number 25 second place car is in. Davies there.
Yes, Borg Mueller just got out of the car. Olsen has just gotten in. They finished putting the fuel in. It seems like it's a routine stop. And they're going to change, actually, they're not going to change tires this time. They're just going around. They're changing the fronts. They're leaving the rears. They're changing the front tires. Seems to be very routine. The car seems to be fine. There's no problem. You know, everybody in the Porsche camp is just being very, very careful. They don't do anything to overextend the pit stop. You know, there's one thing to talking. You can never taste the victory. You can never congratulate yourself on pole position until it is over, until you see the checkered flag, because you can get snake bitten so many times. Back up to the booth.
A true racer. Davy Jones, of course, has won this race. He's finished second here. He knows exactly what the emotions are in the Porsche, and I don't think he would want to start pushing for answers either too early.
I think you're absolutely right. We got again a look there in the pits for the Porsche team, and that is Herbert AMPFERER, who is the gentleman who runs this program.
It's true, however, that lead Porsche, the number 26 car, has backed off the pace that they were running when they were pursuing the Toyota by a full 4 seconds. So now we have a yellow flag.
That's for that car abandoned on the left-hand side. Incidentally, we have a great battle going on for 4th place. That McLaren BMW we've talked a lot about, that's actually had a couple of Nissans chasing after it. They're all on the same lap.
Very close racing indeed. Let's take a look at our field summary at this point. Number 26, the Works Porsche GT1 continues to lead. Then the number 25 machine, the team car, runs in 2nd place as we look deeper in our Michelin field summary. 3rd is the 32 Nissan we just saw on screen, having a strong run. Then the McLaren BMW runs 4th. In 5th, it is another Nissan. In 6th, it is a Nissan. 7th now, the number 45 PANOZ, continuing perhaps a march into the top 5. We'll watch that. Up to 8th overall now is your Le Mans prototype or World Sports Car leader, the number 12 entry of Wayne Taylor, the Ferrari. And then we take a look at the situation in GT2. Once again, it is the Viper, number 53, leading in GT2 and running 2nd in that category right now. So that is the battling going on. Let's head down into the pits. Calvin Fish is with the team manager for Team Toyota. Calvin?
Well, Joanna Moss is the chief engineer on the number 29 machine. She really was calling the shots throughout this event for that car. And tell us about the emotions right now. So close.
Yeah, but 24 hours is a long time if you think there was still an hour and a half left, which is a normal race distance. So the team have come a long way, but obviously not far enough yet.
What actually did happen? We obviously document the fact that you had to change 2 gearbox clusters throughout the event. Looks like you did another one early this morning, but still a problem with the gearbox?
Still a problem with the gearbox, yeah.
I mean, you changed it twice. Now, the fact that Thierry was out there, what actually goes through the car? I mean, when the problem arises, is it gets stuck in gear, it gets a bag of neutrals? What happens out there?
No, it's basically just from the problems we'd had earlier in the race. We'd built up pressures in the gearbox and heat in the gearbox, which is not meant to be there. So we were living on borrowed time for the last sort of 22 and a half hours, so really everyone was quite impressed with the fact that the car lasted this long and did so well on its first outing really on a race. So we're all disappointed, but in a way we're happy that at least if it went out on top.
Absolutely, it's a wonderful job by the whole team, a wonderful effort. Obviously, coming here, you learn so much being at this track. You cannot test and duplicate what the stresses and demands that this racetrack puts on the race car. When do the preparations begin for next year?
Probably in the morning. No, I think maybe a few days off, but we need to start again because it's not long before next year's Le Mans, so we'll be back.
Congratulations on a wonderful effort.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Well, a wonderful effort indeed. The Toyota team doing a great job. And here's the gentleman from Porsche, perhaps the counterpart, if you will. He has been where she is in terms of feeling after a problem, after a car has dropped out. On the other hand, he has also been in the winner's circle. He knows both sides of it. And right now, I think he's feeling pretty good about what's going on, but the nerves are still raw. As they've said, we are exactly now at an hour.
Yeah, we have to feel also for Uwe Anderson, the team director, and of course the technical director, Andre de Cortaz. He has won this race before with Peugeot. But I don't know about you, Sam, but I've never seen too many race engineers like that.
No, it makes me want to get back in the game.
And we're watching, I'm sorry, Andrew, we're watching on screen the remarkable drive, the number 40 McLaren BMW. Again, one of the pilots, the United States, Bill Oberlin. That car now runs 4th overall. And it is feeling a bit of heat, admittedly, from the 5th place car, just a lap back and closing the number 31 Nissan. We are into the final hour here at Le Mans. The BMW McLaren hopes to make it one more spot. Welcome back to the Circuit International du Mans here in Le Mans, France, and we are in the last hour of this 24-hour classic. Look at that. You get in there, you're working, Calvin was talking about the carbon dust and all of the developments, things happen, and looking after one of the crew members. That is the number 31 Nissan that is currently in 5th place. Just a little while ago, it was a lap behind the 4th place car, the McLaren BMW. It is now down to 1 minute and 45 seconds behind. They are absolutely flying. They are reeling off lap, Sam, 3 minutes 48.7 seconds. Their last lap. They are on the prowl and going right with them. Their number 30 team car lapping at 3:48.9. A great battle shaping up perhaps for fourth.
But Greg, as you say that, it makes me wonder if the Nissan team didn't misjudge the pace. They obviously have speed that they're starting to use right now that they really should have used earlier if they had it, which apparently they do. I mean, they are actually having their team split by the Bill Oberlin McLaren, which is a 3-year-old car. I mean, it's great that the Nissan team has put all 3 cars up here in the first 6. That's a fantastic achievement, but I just think they should have been going harder in hindsight. Now, the race isn't over. You know, we've talked about how it's 54, 55 minutes to go in the race, but these guys apparently had more speed throughout, and I think if they had deployed it, they might have been in a position to threaten for second or even first.
And at this point, showing that great speed, we watch as the 31 Nissan makes its move down into pit lane. Whoa! Wanting to get in a hurry. I think they smell blood. They know they've got an opportunity here. They want to get into the pit as quick as possible and get the stop done. The 31 Nissan, again, riding in 5th position right now. Right about here, have to be very careful of that speed limit in the pit lane. They duck in. They've got an early pit, which helps. They're there. And going to watch this stop. It is a crucial stop.
But it's a little late, isn't it? I mean, why didn't we see that kind of stuff earlier? I mean, the fact that Bill Oberlin's 3-year-old car has split this team, I think says that Nissan, one way or another, has misjudged things, either mechanically or just in terms of their tactics for this race.
And of course, we don't want to forget what's going on with the GT2 battle. That continues to be a good one. And the gentleman who won the FIA GT Championship for GT2 last year is down in the pits with Calvin Fish.
Well, Justin, still an hour to go, or just under right now. We don't want to sort of like talk about victory just yet, but obviously it'd be wonderful to win here at a place that has such fond memories for your father and I'm sure the whole family.
Yeah, it's actually my 26th time to Le Mans and my 5th proper time racing here. So, you know, after finishing 3rd here with Dad in '95 in the McLaren, you know, if we are able to keep it going to the end, it'll be the most important moment for me.
What did you learn from last year? We spoke to Hugh a little earlier about coming back to Le Mans after last year's showing. From a driver's perspective, did you treat the car any differently this time around?
We had, you know, a defined strategy from the beginning. On all 3 cars, had their own program. Right up until the last hour, we were running the same times as we were at the beginning of the race. It just was to a plan, which is good. It says something. Obviously, right now we backed off a little bit more, but Le Mans, you know, has got its own mind about what it's going to do. You can think you're doing well. I mean, I remember being here as a kid, and Dad was with Renault, and they led for 22.5 hours, and then had electrical problems. So I've seen the devastation it can cause. So people keep coming up saying, yeah, well done. I'm going to go and lock myself in the motor home.
How much did David Donahue lean on you? Obviously his first time here, he's obviously done a great job in the car. How much did you tell him? Did you take him around the racetrack? I mean, how did that work out?
Yeah, actually, I didn't take him around the racetrack, but I took him verbally around the racetrack, and he has really done the best job he possibly ever could have done. Been relied on in the worst conditions as well at night, and it rained for him, and like it did for me. So, you know, we all came through it quite well. But he's really impressed. So, and it's nice for, you know, if we can do this. I don't know if 2 sons have done it before.
Okay, well, we keep our fingers crossed for you, and hopefully we'll see you on the podium.
Thanks very much.
It's a remarkable performance by that team and that driver, and of course that's an interesting point, isn't it? 2 sons of 2 legendary drivers teamed up in that car. You're watching, by the way, the class leading, the Le Mans prototype class leading, number 12 Ferrari, and that is Eric Van de Poel behind the wheel. And Sam, I was going to ask you, for the last time here, the hands of the clock have moved past the top of the dial. What's going through the driver's minds at this point?
It depends on the situation the driver finds himself in, obviously. If the car is running well and you're a lap or 2 ahead or behind, you're just kind of in a vacuum, this is when you start to really worry. What you hope for at this point is you're in hot pursuit of somebody and you can still treat it like a race, because when you start to hear those echoes, you know, this place will really play games on your mind.
And there is the class leading number 53 Viper. again, a very solid effort. We talked about at the very beginning of the race, perhaps the biggest effort from a United States American-based factory in some 30 years. And it looks is the key word, like it might come to fruition. We'll be back. Welcome back once again to Le Mans. You're watching one of the Chrysler Vipers as it's working its way through that no-name right-hander that we've alluded to before, then the dive down into the banking into Indianapolis. Speaking of diving, it is time for the number 26, our overall race leader. He has completed 339. When it leaves the pits, it will complete its 340th lap, and it is in. And they are going after, of course, fuel. Look at all of the dirt and debris on that machine. They always have to look after the numbers for timing and scoring, but the rest of the car looking like it has had 23+ hours of hard racing activity.
Greg, I think this could be the final pit stop for this car. 48 minutes to go. Could be.
Well, again, they've been working toward 13 laps in between, and we'll see here if they are going to put on tires. Dave, you might have the answer.
Well, certainly, you know, they are going to change the tires on the car. They put Alan McNish, he stayed in the car, actually. And, they're not. They're taking on the fuel. They're cleaning the windscreen, cleaning the numbers on the side of the car, putting on the rear Michelin tires. I mean, everything seemed fairly routine. Alan McNish is driving up, and they're high-fiving each other like this could be their last stop to the end of the race. Congratulating each other here in the pits for a job well done, and Alan will bring the car home.
It is up to the driver now. The crew, we would suspect, Andrew, as you mentioned, and as Davey seems to have confirmed, it is now down to the driver. The crew has done their job, and it is time for Alan McNish to bring it home.
It's always very nice when the car goes out after its final pit stop, because that's the one you think with a starter motor will jam or just something will go wrong. Once it's rolling again, then it's just that little bit easier.
It's a lot easier, and you breathe an incredible sigh of relief. I think the tire change is, don't you, Andrew, just for safety's sake. They probably could have gone, they have been able to do in the past, 2 stops. I think they're just making sure that if there's any debris on the track, they've got the thicker tread there.
We see the Ferrari of Van de Poel and Taylor in. Calvin is there.
Well, Van der Poel brings the car in. It's going to be Wayne Taylor taking over for this final stint. Interesting note here, as Andrew said, they should be able to go all the way with the Porsche, and the same with this car. As I understand it, you need to be running at the end. So if they get a little close on fuel, they're probably going to need to come in for a splash and go to make sure that the thing actually sees that end of the 24th hour. But meanwhile, the pit stop routine continues here on the Wayne Taylor machine. Eric is in the other side of the cockpit here. Obviously, with the open cockpits, it's a little easier to assist. And meanwhile, the crew goes to work. They're washing down the side of the car, hopefully looking for that photo finish, so to speak, as everyone looks for here at Le Mans. They're going to give the car a good cleanup. They have about a 17-lap lead or so, they did just a few moments ago in class, so they can afford to probably give this thing a wax and polish and make sure it's spick and span for the finish of this one. And they're changing all 4 tires. Obviously, at this stage, they want to make sure that they've got good rubber on the car, not so much from a grip standpoint, but any debris, any puncture-type problems, they want a new set of rubber on the car so that Wayne can hopefully get back on track, finish the final 45, 46 minutes of this event, and score a wonderful victory for this privateer team, literally. They do have support from Ferrari, and obviously they're the Pirelli Works team over in the States. It would be a wonderful victory for this team here.
Calvin, just confirm that you do have to finish this race. It wasn't always thus. In fact, just 6 or 7 years ago, it wasn't the case. But now it is actual fact. You must do the whole 24 hours.
And interestingly enough, we're watching that cleanup job, if you will, in the pits. They have about a 20-lap lead. They've got the time to do this. But I guess we were wondering, is the overall victory everything, or can one take some solace in winning the class, the Le Mans prototype class? The way they're prettying the car up for pictures, looks like it is a fairly prestigious win.
Oh, I think it's an extremely prestigious win. I'd sure take it. And I think what happens, no matter where you are, even on a lesser position, you were asking later earlier how you feel in that last hour. You really want to cling to whatever you have managed to do. I mean, all right, it may not be very good cocktail party talk 2 years later to talk about a 10th or a 12th or something like that. But when you are running 10th or 12th, believe me, you don't want it to end. I mean, you want to keep whatever you work for intact.
And you work for a finish in the world's most prestigious and brutal 24-hour race. I would think savoring it is certainly in order. We'll be back. Welcome back to Le Mans. We are now in the last 45 minutes, and you see one of the great stories of the race, the number 40 at McLaren BMW running fourth. Calvin is there.
Well, this car is currently driven by Tim Sugden, the Englishman, but Bill Auberlen has done a wonderful job, and a slight bit of panic here in the pits. They did their final pit stop. Hopefully, Tim went to fire it up, and the battery was flat. They couldn't get it fired up. We just talked about the fact you've got to be running at the finish. So just when you think everything is okay, this car's running in fourth position. A wonderful run for these guys. They suddenly had a little bit of a panic, but they got it sorted, and he's back on track.
Now there's the culprit, the battery, as they put it back in the garage and they got it started. And keep in mind, I believe we also have had the final stop for the number 30 Nissan, which is the car that has been closing inexorably on the number 40 BMW McLaren. I'm not positive on that, but I think that stop is done. If so, that margin should be right about the same, somewhere in the 1 minute to 1:45. And it's going to be interesting. There are two of the Nissans running in formation at this point, but if the number 30 Nissan has indeed completed its stop, that battle will be rejoined. And the number 31 Nissan not that far behind. A good possible three-car battle happening here. That's the number 30 machine, currently running in fifth. And indeed, now they cycle through, and it's about 2 minutes and 30 seconds. The team car pops out. Not, of course, willing to risk any kind of racing at this stage, maybe just trying to get a little bit more cool air into the radiators, but it makes for some great show. That is the 32 car in, trailing on the track, but in fact, running third overall.
That's an interesting car, the black and yellow car. That's actually driven by a young man from Detroit, Matt Turner. He's run the whole way through the race. He's a graduate of the Skip Barber School, 26-year-old from Detroit, and a very good run.
It's a very solid run. They continue to be a factor as well. There is your race leader, the number 26 Porsche, maintaining that one-lap advantage. And of course, it is over the team car. And as you head into the final few tours of this race, there's a two-lap advantage as that number 32 Nissan is chipping away at things just a little bit. But Sam, they've got a two-lap advantage over the competition. But in between, a lap back, but in between is a friendly face, if you will. That's somewhat comforting at this stage.
Yeah, you love to be backed up by your other team, but you know, at this point, I think they're just thinking win, win, win. And what's remarkable about this is look at the ages of the drivers in this Porsche number 26, which is leading. McNish and Ortelli are both 28. Aiello is very young. They have a total, Aiello is a rookie here, they have a total of 4 years of experience, prior experience at Le Mans. What we're seeing here, we may be talking about the history of Porsche. We're seeing a new generation. We're not seeing the Hunt Stooks, the Terry Boutsens. The only veteran on this team is Bob Wallach. The others are all young, relatively inexperienced, almost, you might say, without insulting them, no-name guys. And we're going to see these guys around. They're not going to be no name for very long.
I was going to say soon to be big name guys, perhaps witnessing the passing of the torch, so to speak. The car that currently runs third in the Le Mans prototype division, the number 3 Momo machine, is having a very solid run. And let's check in with Kevin Doran down in the pits.
Kevin, obviously you came here, the Triple Crown was talked about, you guys knew it wasn't really realistic with the GT cars this year. You put on a great effort, gearbox problem really cost you a lot of time last night.
Yeah, the gearbox problem kind of caught us by surprise in a way. We've been good there, but it was bad. It was we took it apart, couldn't fix it, had to put on a whole replacement unit, and it took a long time. You know, some of it I think being up for so long, you're not really fresh, but it took over an hour, so that put us completely out of it.
We want to know if you're smiling or frowning underneath your balaclava there.
I'm kind of smiling. It looks like we might get to the end of this thing 2 years in a row, and there's a lot of good cars here. It's a heck of a race. It's got a lot of people. It's a fun event. You know, it's kind of like a double Daytona all in 124 hour.
Obviously, you were running really strongly in the top 10. Did that really give you any hopes of maybe you could pull this one off?
No, I never really had any hopes of winning. I was hoping to win class in World Sports Car, but that was as far as my hopes went for this year. But I've got the bit in my teeth. I want to win this thing before I give up racing.
Okay, Kevin, gentlemen, we wish you all the best, and Davy Jones has a report in the Porsche pit.
Yeah, there's a lot of celebration and congratulations going on down here in the Porsche pit. They're pushing all the folks inside the garage over to the Yost garage to make room for the crew. They're getting ready for the pit stop of the 25 car, which apparently Alston is going to stay in. Bob Wallach will not be getting in for the finish. Both drivers are going to remain in the car, and Alec McNish, apparently he is going to have to slow down considerably to make it all the way to the end, or they're going to come in for a splash and dash. So we'll have to just stand by here real close to find out just what's going to happen here. But the Porsche is sitting 1 and 2, and they're quite comfortable. Now back up to Calvert's.
Well, the number 45 car is in, is David Brabham behind the wheel. We talked about the David and Goliath story, and PANOZ really put on a great run. They lost about 30 minutes, as Tony Dow told us this morning, with an electrical problem with this car. The engine seemed to be a little down on power. They maybe went a little too conservatively with the race engine setup, but David Brabham, the Australian, pulls it out. They're hopefully going to finish this one, which would in itself be a true result here.
Would be a remarkable result. We also see now the Momo machine. You can see Kevin Durant wearing the balaclava. That's because they had a stop coming up. It is making its way in as the 45 PANOZ makes its way out. And again, this car running third in the Le Mans prototype division. Let's go back down to Calvin. He's busy.
Didier Taze brings it in. The crew are looking at the tires. They're probably going to stick a fresh set on here. Taze is just taking a drink as we speak. Kevin is obviously a little disappointed, but this guy has so much success, and the 2 victories at Sebring and Daytona this year really is an indication of Kevin Durant's experience and the crew that he's put together. Didier Taze, obviously 41 years old and enjoying a lot of success as he's made the transition from single-seaters over to the sports cars. He's running currently in Europe and in the States, a very busy year for him, and he's driving Ferrari, so it's not a bad way to end your career. Certainly Didier has a lot of years left. I'm not trying to shortcut his career, but enjoying a lot of success at this stage of his career.
Remarkable success. By the way, the third-place Nissan has made a stop and is on its way back out. It is 6 laps clear of the car in fourth, so they can afford to have a nice leisurely stop. And as we watch that Momo pit stop conclude, Kevin Durant saying he's got the bug and he would like to win this race before he gets out of racing. That's good news for this race. This is a top-flight, world-class operation, and Kevin Durant is one of the best in the business. We'll be back for the final half hour in just a minute. Unique twist of history.
Yeah.
Okay. A quick reminder, the Formula One Circus makes its only North American stop later today, and we'll have extensive live coverage as Speed Weekend International continues. The pre-race show begins at 12:30 p.m. Eastern, followed immediately by the Grand Prix of Canada. Live Formula One racing all season long and only on Speed Vision. You're enjoying some great onboard there momentarily with the Nissan. There's the clock. 35 minutes remaining in the 24 hours for 1998. The lead car remains the number 26 Porsche. We're watching the third place car, the 32 Nissan. But Andrew, you say there's a unique twist of history involved with the driver of that lead machine.
Yeah, Alan McNish comes from a place called Dumfries in Scotland. Believe it or not, it's actually hosting a major motorsporting event this weekend, the Scottish International Rally. The last Scot to win this race, 1988, in a Jaguar. His name, the Earl of Dumfries. So I think Johnny will certainly be the laird of... Alan will be the laird of Dumfries. Actually, Johnny Dumfries doesn't race anymore. He's still around a bit. He's now called the Marquis of Bute.
Ooh, grand titles as they flow here. Here is a good look at one of the open-top machines. That is the number 15 entry. Haven't seen a whole lot of that car. Currently circulates in the 16th position. That's one of the Courage. That's the oldest of the Courage chassis. The 36, Andre Pescarolo. Oh, a big plume of smoke from one of the GT2 cars as it exits. I believe that was Arnage. Oh, and it's a lot of flame as well, Sam. Something has let go in that car.
Yeah, the two Works GT1 Porsches are just ahead, moving out of the screen to the right. We'll have to see what's wrong here, but obviously there's plenty wrong. It's interesting and very delightful to report that there have been no serious incidents so far. I'm crossing my fingers right now in this race, which has proceeded with such intensity, which had 2 bursts of rain during the night. In other words, worst case case scenario, you might say. And with all the competitiveness and the high speed and the young drivers all pushing so hard, nobody's been hurt, knock on wood. And I think it's just a remarkable safety record. And I think it has an awful lot to do with the redesign of the track, with these the way they move the walls back from where they used to be, and have all the gravel traps. And so it's wonderful.
Just to name check that car, it is the number 71 car of the Portuguese brothers, Manuel and Michel Monteiro, who's also driving with the Frenchman, Michel Maisonneuve, and that's the Estoril Racing Communications car. And what must be going through the mind of the driver right now?
Well, it's a brutal disappointment because they were running 4th in GT2. I mean, they had really achieved something here. Not quite headed for the podium, but darn close. I mean, a really good run.
When you see that kind of smoke emanating from one of those Porsches, that generally indicates a turbo failure. I mean, the car's still running, so it hasn't exploded the engine. It may have just lost the turbo.
Well, let's hope that's the case. Maybe they can limp through to the finish.
Yeah.
Absolutely agree with you. I think that is the case right there.
And Sam, you know, we are now 2 minutes away from the final half hour of this event. How bitter, you know, you mentioned bitterly disappointing that they were running 4th in class, but to make it 23.5 hours, and that finish is in sight now, and to have a problem of that nature.
Thank goodness I've never experienced one of those. It just must be absolutely agonizing for somebody, because you're dazed with the effort, with the exhaustion. You probably can't even react at first to what's happened, and then it begins to sink in. No, I'm really not going to make it, because you try to tell yourself you're not hoping, but you are hoping. 2 hours out, you start to really count on it.
Beautiful view as we watch the two Porsches with 30 minutes remaining as they head down the Mulsanne. Absolutely marvelous here at Le Mans. We will be back for that final 30 minutes right after this. Welcome back to Le Mans. We are in our final half hour. Here's the Sony PlayStation Race Reset. The elapsed time, 23 hours, 32 minutes. The class leaders, the Porsche leads overall in the Le Mans prototype class. It remains the number 12 Ferrari, and in the GT2 division, it is the number 53 Viper. And the storyline, could this be a very happy 50th anniversary celebration for Porsche? It looks possible. The number 26 car is in, and Davey is there.
Yeah, they're certainly starting to celebrate down here, and this appears to be the last stop in the final stop. They're putting fuel in both cars. They look like they're going to do a full pit stop. Same drivers in both cars. Elimination, the 26 car, and Holhausen in the 25 car. They're not going to change tires, I don't believe. They're keeping the same Michelin's on, but both cars are pulling out together. There's a lot of excitement here. Everybody's clapping. Everybody's high-fiving each other. And it looks like they're going to parade around all the way to the finish of this. Greg?
And Davey, we can hear it up here in the booth. The horns going off, the screams from the crowd, the proud Germans, as well as the fans of the drivers. The atmosphere is beginning to get quite electric, isn't it?
It really is, Greg. I mean, you can just feel it, and you can see it on the faces of all the personnel at Porsche here. And I even feel it within myself, relating back to 1996. You got that feeling in that you just know that you really accomplished something. You feel real good about it. It just seems like the last half hour is just going to drag on. But they're in a good position, Greg, and you know, it's just electrifying down here. It's really exciting. I'm glad to be a part of it.
Davey, do you want, when you're winning the race, I'm thinking back to a couple of years ago, do you want it to be over, or do you want to savor it while it's still going on?
Well, they're certainly savoring it down here at the moment. You know, you can really see it. Everybody's kind of cautious. They're talking amongst themselves, but they know they've got this one in the bag, and they're really excited about it. You know, they don't want to say that they've got it yet, you know, until the checkered flag falls, but they're certainly positioning themselves for the 50th victory. And then at Porsche, I think they just feel like they have done their job. They've come to Le Mans. They've done what they do best, and that's win Le Mans year after year.
Well, of course, they've won it with a great many different drivers. They win back in 1970, which kicked it all off, was with Hans Hermann and Richard Atwood. And since then, they've won it several times with Jackie Eakes and Derek Bell. The other names like Klaus Ludwig, Vern Schuppan, Hurley Haywood, Al Holbert have all won for Porsche. Henri Pescarolo, Hans Stuck, Al Holbert again. And, of course, right there, very big on that list, Davy Jones. So quite a an honor roll of people who have managed to win this race in a Porsche. But you notice although the Ickx and Bell did contribute a great many wins to the team, they never had to rely exclusively on drivers. They relied on their team first, and the drivers kind of came second.
Let's take a look quickly at our top 20 field summary as we are winding down here. The two Porsches continue at the front, then the Nissan, and then that McLaren BMW GTR, three-year-old machine, running well into the top 5. We continue on down. There's the number 45 PANOZ, a good run into 7th. Then the LMP, the Le Mans Prototype World Sports Car Class leader of Taylor, Van de Poel, and Velez, running in the 8th spot. And we go down to 11th overall. Again, a remarkable achievement by the Viper, leading in GT2. And again, on board that car, two sons of two very famous and legendary race drivers in their own right. We're watching those two Porsches as they fly in formation, if you will, around this track. And there's a big piece of debris on the track. Something has happened. The workers going out to get it. Boy, when you're into this last half hour, things are looking good, and then suddenly stuff starts popping at you on the track. A little disconcerting.
Well, exactly. And, you know, obviously they're circulating in close formation for the photo opportunity. This is a publicity situation, but it makes you wonder if it's all that smart, really. I mean, I'd keep them a couple of 100 yards apart until that last lap if I was running the show, because, you know, if one thing goes wrong, it could strike them both right there, including a gear problem with the leading car that causes the car right behind to plow into it. I mean, I really think they ought to be a little bit further apart if I were the manager. We've been talking about We've been talking about that 50th anniversary. 1948 was when the first Porsche rolled out of literally Dr. Ferry's Porsche garage. In 3 years, they were running at Le Mans. 1951 was their first effort, but it wasn't until 1970 when they won it. They've made up for that since, haven't they, Andrew?
Yes, they certainly have, but I'm still looking at the situation for 4th place. That McLaren is there. It is now only 31 seconds ahead of the number 30 Nissan, and it might still possibly, to catch that, they could see that battle just go right to the wire. But Calvin Fish, let's catch up with him.
Okay, we're just waiting for Don PANOZ to come out of the garage area. Don, you came here last year, you got the car up into the top 10, and this year you've run strongly in the top 10. Looks like you're going to finish this one. Obviously, good progress. I'm sure you'll be back next year also.
We will be back next year, Calvin, and you know, they say to come and compete at Le Mans is great, which we did last year. They say to finish Le Mans is even greater, and we've finished. I wish we had those 11 laps back. We lost over a tail light, but that's what racing's all about, and we're just glad to have finished, and I think we have a good show.
It's all part of the learning curve, I'm sure, and you need to run here year after year. You've obviously got a great team around you now, led by Tony Dow. He's got tremendous experience, great team members, and each year you come back, you learn a little bit more, correct?
Well, I'm still an infant. I'm really a baby learning how to walk in this game, but Le Mans is such a great experience. You know, I can recommend it highly to anybody. And the older you get, the better it is for you.
Absolutely. Congratulations, Don, on a great showing this year.
Thanks, Calvin.
Well, he may be an infant, as he put it, but he is one quick learner. We have seen it not just with his race program, but with his plans for sports car racing globally.
Yeah, a very clever man indeed, I think. And there is a trophy they're after.
And a beautiful one it is, perhaps the most prestigious in all of racing. And it is now within 20 minutes away. We'll be back to capture the end of this great one in just a minute. We are back at Indianapolis, the curve, not the track. This is Le Mans, after all, and the two Porsches, the leaders overall in this event. The number 26 machine, Alan McNish behind the wheel. The number 25 car, Uwe Olsen behind the wheel, as they circulate and put just a little bit more time into the book every time by, as they continue to head toward a resounding victory in many ways. And also, as you pointed out, McNish, Olsen, two very young, up-and-coming guns, and boy, they put on a drive.
They certainly have. It's a beautiful thing, of course, to see a team lay their plans, do the engineering, do all the homework and background and everything. And speaking of a team laying its plans, you know, here's one of the great architects of those plans, you know, and then to execute it through a long and difficult race. I mean, 24 hours ago, we were talking about 6 major manufacturers lined up, including Mercedes, BMW, great rivals of Porsche, of course, in Germany. And at that point, you know, it was anybody's guess as to what could happen, but these guys grounded out. They put the numbers on the board, as Roger Penske has always said, and it's a fabulous achievement.
And it would be very sweet indeed to win with a car which is actually called a 911. There might not be many 911 bits, maybe the gear knob, but still very good publicity for Porsche.
Indeed. By the way, that is the number 33 Nissan ducking into the pits. And take a look at the back of that car. If we get that shot back, that big piece of debris that those two Porsches had to evade on the track was the rear engine cover of that Nissan, Sam.
Well, you know, Porsche is a company that races as its lifeblood. It's very different than the other companies in this business here that race for publicity in and out. Mercedes coming in the 50s, then back again in the 80s, now back again. Racing when they feel they need a little jolt of performance publicity. Nissan the same, Toyota the same. Porsche relies on the sale of racing cars as a big part of their gross. They are a company with racing not just in their blood, it's in their entire system. So when you see them win a race, the greatest race basically for sports cars in the world, it can only make you feel terrific for the company.
I like that. Racing is not just in their blood, it's in their business plan. That is how this company operates, and we are all much the better for it. We'll be back at Le Mans. There's the clock.
The number 45 PANOZ is in, David Brabham. There looks to be a little bit of a problem here under the left corner of the car, under the bodywork. There's some loose ductwork or some duct tape there. And a little surprising, he was just in recently, so this is probably an unscheduled stop. He may have felt a vibration or something. Tony Dow, the head of the car, tells David to fire back up. Obviously no fuel going in, so it was obviously unscheduled, maybe a tire vibration. They're now checking over the tires, but David felt it wise to bring the car in. We've only got about 15 minutes left. They want to bring it home. Looks like there may be a cut on the left front tire. I see one of the mechanics wheeling it away. There may have been a cut on the left front.
Well, yeah, I know exactly why that happened, and it's because Don PANOZ said, we've already finished the race. Well, you haven't finished the race, so he's being just touched a little bit by fate there, reminded not to say things like that.
And keep in mind as well, every time they bring that car in, they have to be a little concerned because it was having the problem restarting. It wasn't the starter motor like the other car, but it would sit there and they would have to work and work and work, and finally it would fire. They've been remapping the engine on and off, maybe in getting the horsepower back in the car. They got the car starting worked out as well. There's Wayne Taylor in. You have to believe this is going to be a quick splash and go. The car is already polished up. That car is polished as can be. They just want to make sure they've got fuel in the car. He had mentioned earlier that their fuel economy wasn't what they wanted, and so they may be just making sure at this stage. And Taylor, nice and casual, again the big lead in the class, is making his way back on track and looking ahead. Again, we don't want to jinx him, but looking ahead to what certainly appears to be a class win. And there again is the look at the two Porsches. Sam, go ahead.
A class win and 8th overall, and obviously a great reward for the perseverance. One can only imagine how they would have done without the trouble with the front wheel bearing and so forth that they had early in the game. I think they'd have finished up in the top 5 or 6.
That is entirely possible. The car, since that problem, has been flawless. And, I mean, you could see not only is Wayne Taylor always smiling when he talks about it, but you see Van de Poel standing in the pits. He's grinning. They really do love the way that the car is running. The two Porsches, as they approach, once again, the first of the two chicanes on the Mulsanne, one of the Nissans closing up behind. But unless it's about 3 laps, the Nissan is behind the lead Porsche, 2 laps behind the second place car. And if that is the 32 Nissan, it may give them the run. If it's not, I'm sure that at this stage you don't want to get and mix it up at this point when you're laps off the pace. Problem again for another GT2 car, Andrew.
Yes, I think that's just trying to limp round and make the finish. You are allowed to do that. In fact, people do sometimes wait in the pits if they think they can just make the last lap. And that's probably what's happening right there with the 71 car.
Well, that's the car that we saw the flame and so forth from. And you advanced the turbo theory at that point, very, very accurately. Let's hope he doesn't oil the track down too much. I often wonder why a car with a big lead in its class, like Wayne Taylor, for example, doesn't sit in the pits for 2 or 3 laps. It'll reduce the risk of things going wrong out there and then fire it up and clinch the position right at the end. No one ever seems to do that. It's as if it's just such bad luck or such bad form, or they just don't want to, sever the connection with running those laps.
Maybe it's bad nerves. You just as soon be out circulating. If you could, just stand there in the pits and watch it unfold. There are the pits for the number 26 Porsche, the race leader, and they continue to try and set up that nice photo finish as we continue to close in on the end of Le Mans. We are into our final 15 minutes. Welcome back to Le Mans, and specifically welcome to the Porsche pit. The excitement is building. The tension has to be palpable down there as they see their cars moving within 10 minutes of claiming the 1998 24 Hours of Le Mans. And they've got the couple lap lead built up over the other cars. The crowd on hand is immense. They may have drifted off to various locales during the evening, whether on track or off, but Andrew Marriott, they are back in force. Perhaps a crowd as large as we've seen here, and they have seen one of the great races of all time.
Yes, it's been an excellent crowd, and they've seen Alan McNish and Laurent Aiello, and of course Stefano Ortelli drives so well. We haven't said much about Ortelli, the third driver in that lead car. He's a guy that's really made his name just in GT2 cars. You know, he really is the underdog amongst those three. But what a great day it's going to be for him. If, that's the big word, Sam, isn't it? If he can finish.
Yeah. Ortelli had some experience, as I recall, as a French driver in Formula 3000. I think he won the French championship at one point, didn't he?
No, he was a French Formula 3 B category champion, but no, really hasn't been through the 3000 deal.
Whatever it is he's done in the past will not amount to a hill of beans compared to what he's maybe about to do. He can forget any details of his resume that he may have had on there before, and he just writes this one in, and he will find full employment, I imagine, for quite a while. And by the way, speaking of employment, you know, these drivers are paid a great deal, many of them, to race just a single race, and it may involve, of course, months and months of testing and work and so forth. But the bill for drivers has gone way up over the last few years. You know, you might want to address that for a second. But, you know, it's not cheap to put 3 fast men in your car anymore.
It's certainly not cheap. I'm not sure about Porsche. They don't have a great reputation for paying big money, Porsche, but some of the other teams, the Japanese teams, they've been paying the sort of $70,000, $80,000 a guy, but obviously they have to do all the testing and so on.
We are coming up, by the way, just a few seconds away from 8 minutes remaining, and the 2 lead Porsches, as they circulate together, are lapping just a few seconds off of 4 minutes, about 3:57. So we may be looking at the final 2, perhaps 3 laps of the 1998 running of this remarkable classic. And there is the lead Porsche, number 26. The car a lap down and running in second, the team car number 25 chasing. And notice the Toyota is out on track.
Yeah, they managed to get the Toyota back out there so that it could at least complete the race.
They worked very hard. They should indeed have a car represented at the finish. We'll be back for the finish. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back once again to the Sarthe Valley, specifically the community of Le Mans, where for this specific weekend it is unquestionably the most important place in the world for anybody involved in the automotive industry. As we have seen, the manufacturers are here in force. There are the Porsche flags flying. The media here in force. And we are winding down within 5 minutes of the end of the 1998 running, the 50th post-war running of the classic Grand Prix of Endurance, the 24 Hours of Le Mans. The 2 Porsches continuing to fly in formation, and it is getting energized here. The crowd is extremely excited, and of course we are going to see the conclusion of a classic race.
Let me say, start to watch for the flags being waved.
Yeah.
We just saw the first of them. It's the most incredible sensation to see the course workers and the fans start to wave the flags. On the very last lap, you're driving almost through a tunnel of flags. Well, it won't look that way on television, but if you're down in the car, it's that low down, and the height at which a flag is waved by a human, you can hardly see the sky. You can't see all the bearings around you. You just see these flags, and it is, I mean, there are very strong men, believe me, who cry on the last lap of Le Mans, and I have this on good record that I'm not the only one. It can be very, very emotional. And I think when you speak of emotions too, my heart is going out a bit to Bob Wallach at this point, who, you know, in his 28th Le Mans, he first finished second back in 1978. He's never managed to win it. He's been second 2 out of the last 3 years. Incredible. This will be 3 out of 4 years, right at the end of his career, that he's finished second, that close to victory, never making it. It's brutal. We can't count him out. There's still a lap to go, of course, but how to come that close and not manage to clinch the deal, it's got to be tough.
Sam, just thinking about the German automotive industry. The 2 Porsches here, of course, very early on vanquished the Mercedes-Benz and, of course, the BMW. But next year, it is a very strong rumour. We will also have both Audi and VW here with separate teams. Very much Deutschland über alles.
Boy.
Well, again, the manufacturer.
So far, the whole German effort whittled down, though, to just the old, not the oldest German team in the business, but the most consistent. You see one of the key men there, of course, raising his eyebrows and like, yes, I think maybe it is going to happen.
Well, as they come by the exit of the final of the Ford chicanes, the clock is at 23 hours, 57.5 minutes. So we could well be on our last lap of the 1998 running of Le Mans. And they are tiptoeing, one would suspect right now. There is Herbert AMPFERER, the architect, really, of the current Porsche GT program, the racing here at Le Mans, and has he put together a beautiful work of art today.
He and Norbert Singer, 2 men very devoted to this program over a period of several years. Here come some of the flags. We'll really see them at Arnage and through the Porsche curves on that last lap. And then, of course, we will be treated to the incredible sight just after the finish of this enormous crowd which gathers here at the main grandstands just under where we're sitting to sweep down toward the victor's podium. 100,000 people at least in one area, something you very rarely see. You see the checkered flag standing by and the little breeze blowing it.
And Sam, yes, we look into those eyes. Look at that expression again. Hurtling down the Mulsanne Straight for the very last time.
Look at the corner workers. It is not over yet, but they know it is essentially done. They are applauding already. A few of the flags are waving. It is usually on the cool-down lap when the full expression from the corner workers as well as the crowd is offered up to the winning team and drivers, but they continue now down, heading toward that second and final chicane on Mulsanne, then into the legendary hairpin, and the crowd is just urging them on. We're on board now with one of the Nissans, the car running in 3rd place right now. Look at the relaxed posture. He knows he's 4 laps adrift, but they have a 3rd place after all. Not a bad 24 hours work.
Now, often in the past here, we've had the crowd actually go right over the racetrack, particularly in the Jaguar days. They were all over the place, and the cars couldn't even finish properly. And I don't think we're going to see that today, but the finish here, the cars usually just peel off at the end of the pit road. They don't make another tour. Porsche flags.
Big flags at that. The supporters here incredibly loyal, no question. Coming up now on the back of one of the GT cars that is just trying to limp around and get themselves at least a mention in the results for 1998. Through the Mulsanne hairpin for the final time. The corner workers again saluting, and now they head down to this daunting piece of real estate at full race speed toward Indianapolis and Arnage. There is the time, but 2 minutes and perhaps less remaining.
Hard to say. I'm glad to see that Toyota hanging in there for the pictures. They really made the race until an hour and 20 minutes out. They were very possibly a winner of the race. The team certainly cannot be compared in depth and strength to Porsche. The Porsche achievements speak for themselves, but Toyota really brought us a terrific race here. They not only their drivers, but the crew that kept repairing those cars through thick and thin and getting them back on the road.
Particularly for a first-time effort for this particular team. Toyota's been here before, but not this organization, and really remarkable for a first-time effort.
Certainly, in a debut race, of course, for that car. The Porsche has raced before this season.
But I gotta say, Andrew picked everything here. He had Bill Oberlin for 5th. He looks like he's got 4th, and he identified the possibility that the Toyotas wouldn't finish just about 10 minutes before that happened. So it's been a great pleasure to have him on board here, because it's given us, I think,
That could have been the number 12 Ferrari leading in the Le Mans prototype class.
It was.
And as you pointed out, you've got to go across the finish line.
Yeah.
Oh my, big developments here at the end.
Wayne Taylor in trouble.
Working through the Porsche curves one final time. Once they exit the Porsche curves, the Ford chicanes are the only turns. Look at the celebration, Sam.
I mean,
there it is. Look, just in the bottom of your picture.
Oh, that's the Momo car.
Yeah.
That's the Momo. Oh, a sigh of relief from the pits for the Ferrari team.
Yeah, I would suggest that he just let them by and then he'll pick up speed again. He didn't want to do another lap.
That's it. Oh, good. That's a relief.
Final turn out of the Ford chicane onto the front straight. Listen to the crowd. There is the photo opportunity. Porsche wins Le Mans. Look, celebration from here to AMPFERER. That's Yannick Dalmas watching as well. Porsche has won it. Porsche has swept it. 1-2. Alan McNish behind the wheel with a great team backing him up, and certainly Uwe Olsen, the two young lions, as you pointed out, Sam, getting the job done.
And you see now that they do not go around the whole 8 miles. They go ducking right into the pit, which is the very, very first pit. Already the fans will be starting to stream down. We do see Wayne Taylor. He crossed the line in very, very good condition. That's a big, big relief. The Chamberlain Viper, the Vipers taking the class GT2 first and second ahead of a Porsche, and of course the PANOZ coming in here after a marvelous run into 7th place. A very, very good start for PANOZ onto their what may very well be a winning Le Mans effort at some point in the next 2-3 years.
And the number 40 McLaren BMW once again a strong finish into 4th, and down in a very happy pit is Davy Jones.
Junge, ja, super, super. Heute hat's geklappt. Heute hat's geklappt. Ja, hat's geklappt. Ja, mit Mobile.
Norbert, congratulations.
Thank you.
We knew that the Porsche, we knew you had it all along.
Danke. Danke.
In 1996, first, second, and third. 1997.
Bilk shit.
Nah, number 1. And today, first and second. Congratulations. How does it feel?
Excellent.
Yes.
I'm really delighted. It's unbelievable. We have worked so hard and now it's true.
50-year anniversary for Porsches.
It fits perfect.
Win 16.
It fits perfect. And with that competition, winning Le Mans, it's perfect, just perfect.
Well, all of us at Speed Vision want to congratulate you and Fox Network.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job.
Just an incredible run, and Davey made the point, 50th anniversary. What could have been better? I'm sure they hoped for it, maybe dreamed for it, and they got it.
Yeah, and so often dreams are shattered here at Le Mans rather than coming true, but I do think he makes the point about work, and I'll just back that up again. I mean, there's just no team that the other teams like Toyota talk about starting the effort for Le Mans tomorrow or next week. These guys have already started the effort months ago. I mean, to beat them, you have really got to do something. They have been the constant in the way that Ferrari was 25 years ago here, the team that you must beat. There were 5 other factory teams in this race, and they had to beat Porsche, and none of them did.
And Sam, just the way the race seesawed all the time, and that was the great thing. I think this has been a classic Le Mans.
I just wish that Toyota could have hung in there to the very end, because they really deserved a great, just a little bit more than they got, I think, although obviously the best man won. They always do, but it's over the 24 hours. Fluky things tend to be weeded out here. But well, one of the stories we talked about at the very beginning, the transmission, the difficulty of getting through 24 hours on a transmission. And I know Porsche did some last-minute work on theirs. They put a synchro system into it, and it worked. It obviously held up for them.
Held up very well indeed. And there is the multi-pronged Nissans. Again, 3rd place overall. A great result in their 2nd year here at Le Mans with this program. We'll be back to Le Mans in just a minute. Welcome back to an absolutely packed and partying Le Mans. The crowd is absolutely ecstatic. They are enjoying every minute of this celebration.
Well, this is the moment where they get to be part of the action. Very shortly, the gates will swing open, and the crowd of at least 100,000 that's massed right here in this sort of concrete canyon between the pits and the main grandstands will flood out onto the track. A small footnote, you see the Bentley here. It was the pace car. Now down to Calvin, who is with the mobile president.
Well, Lone Noto, a great day for you. You sponsored the event, and you also score victory overall and in GT2.
Very happy to be here. Congratulations to Viper. They had a great day. Congratulations to Porsche. We're a long-time supporter of Le Mans. We think it's a great event, and we're delighted to see you cover it, and we're delighted to see it get attention around the world.
Well, David Donahue, winner in GT2. Great story here, David. Your first visit to Le Mans, an awesome racetrack, to come here and win. That must be beyond your expectations.
Yeah, it's I still can't really believe it. It really was a race that only mistakes could lose because of the preparation that Chrysler and Orca put into this this particular race with 3 24-hour tests leading up to it. I'm just blown away and really fortunate to be part of a team with Luca and Justin. I mean, great drivers to be with.
What a story, though. Justin and his father's success here, and obviously your father's great history in the sport. Must be a wonderful moment for both of you.
Yeah, like I said, I just can't believe it right now. I'm getting a bit speechless.
Okay, well, congratulations, David. Great job, and we'll wait more for victory celebrations here.
Well, they will be intense and they will be long. You savor a moment like this, I would suspect, the partying tonight for the drivers, and maybe certainly for the winners, but the people that just finished this race are going to enjoy it. Oh, there they go, the crowd, as we watch some of the world feed graphics for the prototype class. The crowd now spilling onto the track. They were quite reserved, but it finally appears it was just too much. They had to get out there.
One of the reasons, of course, everything unfolds so slowly. Frankly, everybody's so tired. It's been a lot of time. Wouldn't you agree, Andrew? Just sort of standing around in a daze. Not these guys, though. Look at this. This is great.
I'd like to see some US flags waving there for that Viper. What a tremendous performance from that 53 car. You know, it never missed a beat, not once, all through that event. That big old V10 engine in the front there. What a great job those guys did.
Well, and they had to stick to that pace because of the weight of the car and the power. It runs so heavy. They had to stick to a pace, and those young drivers, again, the young drivers were able to do it to perfection. It's remarkable. There are the spoils of victory, and they are on top of one of the most famous victory podiums in all the world.
I think this is a real turning point for this race, though, don't you, both of you gentlemen? I mean, first of all, the incredible participation, 6 manufacturers involved, major manufacturers with an awful lot at stake. Sure, some of them are going to go home having been beaten. The heads will roll, I'm sure, in corporate offices over the next few days. Why didn't our program do better? That kind of thing. But at the same time, oh, here's Calvin with Justin Bell. Let's not miss this. Calvin?
Justin, we just spoke to David. Obviously a great day for the both of you. You talked about your father's history in the sport, and to finally pull off, we spoke to you about 55 minutes ago. You must be very relieved to be here.
Unbelievable. Yeah, it's just the biggest moment for me. It's incredible. And I just spoke to Dad too, so it's good.
Good deal. The wonder of cell phones, right?
Yeah, so it was actually Radio Le Mans. They patched him, he called them, and they put me through. So, yeah, tears to 80,000 people on the phone. It was stupid.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's brilliant. You know, I think, you know, you're very overstretched and tired at Le Mans. So by the end of it, if you finish even, everyone that finishes does well to win for me. It's the best.
Super job. Congratulations.
Thanks very much.
Sam, you said maybe a corporate head or two will roll. I just think the one team that may have disappointment is Nissan.
Oh, I agree with you. I think they played their cards wrong right on the spot after obviously doing a lot of homework, a lot of testing, getting everything ready, and somebody picked the wrong number to run early in that game because they were awful close and they didn't quite make it. Down to Calvin.
We saw the emotions throughout the event for Wayne Taylor, and on that last lap, there was suddenly almost another one, Wayne.
The very last lap, as I went past the pits, they said that your car's losing oil and you better cool it, and it looked like it lost all the engine oil. As soon as I put my foot down, it appeared to want to blow up. So I just cruised around as slow as I could, and, you know, I was hoping that the leaders would catch me, which they did, and just made it across the line.
So what was the feeling when that happened?
Well, that last lap, I tell you what, is the longest lap I've ever done in my life, because it was unbelievable. I thought we haven't come this far and not to finish.
Victory at Le Mans got to feel special.
Yeah, I don't even know yet. I don't know yet. I'm waiting to go out there.
You hated it yesterday, Wayne. You didn't want to get back in the car.
I know, it's a love-hate, isn't it? I love it today.
Absolutely, great job.
Talk about a guy who's had the pendulum in 24 hours beat him about the head and shoulders. Hated the car, loved the car, ran the car to the class lead, and then almost has the car disappoint him in the last lap.
Such as Le Mans. 24 hours. Who was it that said a little while ago that the 24 hours of Le Mans felt like 2 Daytonas?
Yeah.
I mean, it's true. I can't figure it out. And yet it feels this year as if the race just flew by.
Look at that, Uwe Olsen, the young driver, and you could see the tears welling up in his eyes, and he was one of the top finishers. Let's check in with Calvin Fish with our winner.
McNish, what a day.
Yeah, it certainly really ran well. The Porsche was very, very good towards the end of the race, and we had to push very, very hard because the Toyota was really quick. But we managed to come out on top, and it was a nice 1-2 for Porsche at the end of the race.
Great battle, though. I mean, we saw the BMW Mercedes go away early, but the Toyota, the 29 machine, obviously kept on running. Couple of gearbox problems. What is your strategy at the end? You had 2 Porsches, but the Toyota was leading. Were one of you going to go after that car?
Oh, I was certainly going to go after it. There's no way I was going to just let the victory go so easily. But thankfully, it came right for us.
Okay, well, great day for Alan McNish and the whole team. They're now making their way to the victory rostrum, kind enough to spend a couple of minutes with us, and they're going to be obviously cheering to the crowd, which is massed outside. Wonderful celebrations here in the room, which they hold the drivers before they actually get on that rostrum.
Listen to the roar of the crowd. Just enjoy this moment, folks. This is absolutely stunning here.
Yeah, I think the nice thing is that they can stand there and they'll get the champagne all over them. You know, that's a great feeling to share in the victor's champagne. And of course, a lot of racetracks, particularly in Grand Prix, you can't do that anymore. You're not allowed close.
You see the reaction of Alan McNish. He saw somebody out there, somebody special to him, and he almost jumped off the podium. This is such a special moment. And for him, perhaps in particular, I mean, we've highlighted a little bit the ups and downs of his career, and it is most assuredly in the up mode right now.
Well, they've got the players, yes, I told you. I actually hired him to be that TV commentator. I guess he'll want more money now.
He's just exceeded your financial limitations, no question. All right, there is the entire Porsche contingent, the 2 GT1 cars that had such a solid run here, and of course took the top 2 positions right down and amongst the crowd. And there is the 3rd place team for the number 32 Nissan making their way up onto the podium as well, and the celebrations will continue. You see the trophies, the hardware, and right in the middle, the big one with the number 24 adorning the top. That's the one you want. That is the one the Porsche has claimed. Really have enjoyed having them here as well. Of course, they've both been here and seen this moment. It is incredibly special. The emotion for those that have won, and the emotion for those that have simply survived, gentlemen. It is remarkable.
Well, the emotion certainly does run high, as Calvin Fish said earlier on, and Justin Bell. The emotions of just finishing them are quite absolutely extraordinary. And I remember back in 1969 when the team I was with, the Golf GT40s, won. John Wyatt, John Horseman, David York, people who are very austere, very British, stiff upper lip guys, all just weeping there in pit lane when Jackie brought the car home a winner. Unfortunately, I was only 3rd, but I was up on that rostrum, so I know how it feels, but I've never stood in that 1st place. Of course, the guy I really feel sorry for today is Bob Wallach, the eternal 2nd or 3rd place at Le Mans. He must be absolutely distraught.
Well, as you can no doubt hear, the celebrations are at their most raucous here. The crowd into this almost as much as the drivers. They know that, gentlemen, that they have seen a wonderful race.
3 young men in their late 20s. They'll remember this day for the rest of their life. Stefano Telli is the man in the middle there.
Holding their trophies aloft, the ones that indicate winner of the 24 hours. It is simply a very special moment for everybody here, I would think, Sam.
Well, there's just no doubt that this is one of the classic and original great races of the world, along with what has now become the Daytona 500, the Indianapolis 500, and Monaco. So really, Le Mans is right there. It has it owes its history, or traces its history back to 1923. It was the first time someone held aloft a Le Mans trophy. If they could ever have guessed the future, who knows?
And we just saw in the middle Bob Wallach once again holding up the second place trophy here at Le Mans, the one 24-hour race that has escaped him.
Well, he had a shot at it last year. He put the car off the road himself. Probably the moment he'll maybe carries with him for the rest of his life. It's pretty tough when you actually, I mean, as I said, the dreams don't always come true.
Yeah, 54 years old. He'll be back for another shot next year.
Yeah, but it is interesting that the team is going young, isn't it, right now? I mean, he'll be hanging by a thread, certainly on that team. I'm delighted that they honored him and did not boot him off it for his mistake of last year. Let's hope he gets to come back, although even Porsche next year, think of the competition that they will face next year. Andrew mentioned Volkswagen and Audi getting involved, the extra German teams. You can't feel but help but feel that Toyota is going to be back triple strong, that Nissan may get it right the next time around. I mean, this race is entering a golden era.
And Sam, evidence indeed that this is such a special moment for these drivers up there. They are taking pictures of pictures being taken of them. They realize that this is perhaps a once-in-a-lifetime experience, and they are going to savor it as long as they can, Andrew.
Yeah, we said that Nissan may be a little disappointed, but one thing they'll be happy about, 3 Japanese drivers in that number 32 car. Kazuyoshi Hoshino, Aguri Suzuki, and Masahiko Kageyama. They did a fine job.
An absolutely superlative job. Let's take a look at our Porsche final standings in this one. Seems fitting, doesn't it, that it is Porsche's 1-2. The number 26 car, as you see on the victory podium, Alan McNish, Laurent Taillot, and Stefan Ortelli, your top 3 finishers, as they did a brilliant job behind the wheel of that car. Only 1 lap back, the team car number 25, Jörg Müller, Bob Wallach, and the finishing driver, Uwe Olsen, the 2 Porsche Works cars. Third, the Nissan we were just talking about, number 32, and it was Hoshino, Suzuki, and Kageyama in the Nissan R390, the GT1. Fourth, great story, the McLaren BMW brings a bit of glory to BMW, even though it was an independent effort, to 4th. 5th and 6th, the 2 Nissans. 7th, the PANOZ, number 45, a great effort. 8th, winning the Le Mans prototype class for World Sports Cars, Wayne Taylor, Eric Van de Poel, and Fermin Velez brought in for this race. 9th, the number 27, Toyota, at least getting a finish in the top 10. Then the Nissan, rounding out the top 10. Winning in GT2, the 53 Viper, a remarkable effort with Bell and Donahue, along with some great help from Luca Drudi. They also were second in the GT2 class, and split in between the second place car in the Le Mans prototype category, the Kremer K8, the car that surprised a few years ago at Daytona with the overall win, perhaps in its swan song, and also, as always, a strong performance by the Rook Racing Porsche, number 64 in GT2, and the Momo Ferrari. It ended up with a 3rd place finish in the Le Mans prototype class. It was one they had to fight for, and they did.
Almost exactly half of the starters finished the race, which is relatively typical here in recent times. Before that, it used to be only about a third, but cars are more reliable these days. The pace much faster. We've never seen a Le Mans run so close to the qualifying speed as we have just seen this one run. I mean, it was a sprint from the very beginning by all the top teams, no question. Porsche doggedly staying in there, and Toyota keeping everybody honest by just cracking around at a just fearsome pace.
Andrew, one thing we're watching, this is a victory celebration, the victory podium that goes on for a long, long time, and not one person ever minds. I mean, this is a celebration worthy of such longevity, if you will.
A few more trophies down there yet to be lifted, because they'll get the GT2 guys up. They can savor the moment, and you'll also get the prototype boys. They'll all get their turn up there.
You saw the shot of the crowd, a tremendous crowd on hand, and we've been visiting a little bit. We talk about PANOZ and Don PANOZ and his plans for this type of racing in the United States. It is that type of response. Look at the crowd, and that's just a small portion of it. He hopes to be able to emulate that to some degree and bring it stateside. There's a good look at the crowd. We'll be back with more of the Victory Circle celebrations here at Le Mans. Welcome back. Welcome back to Le Mans. The celebrations continue. That's Alan McNish holding his trophy. He can't seem to put it down for more than 2-3 seconds. He wants to have his hands wrapped around it. The energy, absolutely electric. You can hear the crowd in the background. Flowers from the second place car. That was Uwe Olsen throwing his flowers out to the crowd, and the crowd gathering them up. And look at the size, the scope of this crowd, savoring this magical moment as much as the drivers, I think. Look at McNish. Oh, he is lit.
McNish, it's a great moment for him. Many people thought he was too small physically to handle a car like that, like this, but he's obviously proved them to be completely wrong. He's a man of iron and steel, and he's done a beautiful job today.
He has done a remarkable job. Now, of course, there is a gentleman, part of our broadcast team, who but 2 years ago stood atop that center step of the podium. Davy Jones, you know what it's like. A wonderful moment.
It is very electrifying down here. It's like, you know, for the drivers that are up on top of the podium, I've been there. I know exactly what it's like. And you just feel like you've won one of the greatest races in the world, but yet you're on pure adrenaline. You know you won the race. It just really it hasn't all caught up with you yet. And to be down here amongst all the fans cheering you and celebrating, it's just so exciting to be here. My final thoughts on the race was that the perseverance of Porsche. You know, in 1996, they came here with a factory effort. They ended up second and third, but they were strong. We chased them all through the race. Last year, they were on the closing laps. They were first and second, and the Yost Porsche was sitting in third. And yet they had problems late in the race, and Yost went on to win for a second time in a row. This year, the dominance of Porsche, they were just there, always there, never ever gave up. And yet, you know, once the Toyota had a bit of a problem, Porsche was right there for a 1-2 victory. How more perfect could it be for their 50th year anniversary and their 16th overall win here? Calvin, maybe a bit more with Calvin, and I just want to say thank you. I enjoyed being here, and I look forward to next year.
Well, the emotion of the moment is certainly caught by Bob Wallach. Bob, you climbed the stairs here in tears. You came so close last year, and a very narrow runner-up finish this year also. How do you feel?
Well, pretty happy for Porsche and my teammates, because they drove a beautiful race and they deserve the win. But to win here, you need a touch of luck, and unfortunately I've never been lucky here. I should have won the last 5 events here, and I did not because of human mistakes, and one of the mistakes being mine last year. But still, I mean, honestly, I should have won the last 5 races here.
What do you tell your younger teammate? I mean, obviously the feelings going through the whole team right now. Everyone wanted you to try and score this victory. And what do you tell a teammate in this type of situation?
Well, don't worry. It's going to be next year.
Okay, we look forward to seeing you back, Bob. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And through it all, he remains the ultimate professional, the ultimate gentleman. He has seen this before, and he's witnessed it, and he still enjoys it.
A great future for this kind of racing. It was safe today. Young new drivers came to the front, and it has a marvelous future, I think, in America with the program that Don PANOZ has in mind.
The class champions for Le Mans Prototype and GT2 enjoying the podium now. And Andrew Marriott, your thoughts on this remarkable race?
Wonderful racetrack, brilliant event, great race.
That's very simply and concisely put, and sums it up beautifully. For myself, I grew up in Europe and always wanted to get to this race and never did. This is my first time here at Le Mans, and it has lived up to it in every way, shape, or form. It has been absolutely one of the most special moments I can imagine. Remember, coming up at 12:30 Eastern, the United States, or coverage on Speed Vision of the only North American stop of the Formula One Grand Prix Circus will make its appearance. Do not miss it again, coming up on Speed Vision at 12:30 Eastern time. Once again, for Calvin Fish and Davy Jones in the pits, Sam Posey and Andrew Marriott up here in the booth, I'm Greg Kramer. This has been an absolute treat. We're so happy you could join us. We look forward to having you back here at Le Mans in '99.